There you are, looking for a coin to add to your collection, and a certain piece calls your attention. You click on it, and a whole bunch of terms may daunt you. Flan crack, blundered legends, die axis 10 hours, doubling, die flaw. What's going on here? Every coin is unique, and a good dealer or collector will make an effort to disclose all of the good and bad things about each coin. So it's useful for us to have an idea about what they are talking about. So today, let's delve into the anatomy of a coin and how knowing all about it can make you a better numismatist and a smarter collector. Let's go. Probably it's a good idea to first get it clear why understanding the quote-unquote anatomy of a coin is a useful thing. First, dividing the complex object that is a coin in its constituent parts will allow you to focus on small details that will help you judge authentic and fake coins. But not only that, looking at a coin overall definitely helps us on eliminating some obvious fakes. But it's on the small details allied to the exposure to many coins with time that will train your eye to the look and feel of a good coin. Also, it will make you a much better buyer, knowing what is a defect that deviates from the norm and what does not constitute a defect, particularly considering handmade coins like ancients, gives you a much better understanding to what is a fair price of a certain coin compared to another one, instead of just relying on a blanket term like the grade. So let's jump right into it. And let's start by, well, the metal disc itself, the medium where all of the detail and information will be put on. This is the planchet, also known as the flan. On a coin attribution, it is typically measured on millimeters for its diameter and has its weight measured in grams. So the flan can have all sorts of quirks which you should be aware of. Probably the most common one is that it is irregular. That means it is not perfectly circular. Other ones might be that it is too small, which prevents the full design from being imprinted. It can have a flan crack, that means a crack formed due to the striking process. A flan split, which is a small V-shaped tear on one edge of the coin, resulting from a sudden splinter of material from the blank, among others. There are positive abnormalities as well. Sometimes a particularly big and wide flan will be called an oversized or medallic flan. The rim and the edge of ancient coins generally don't have the details nor the intricacies of modern coins. Actually, most of them don't even have a rim. But we do have coins that are more or less ragged at the edges. Some people consider a ragged edge to be a negative. I particularly like it. Reinforces the fact that it is ancient and it was made using ancient methods. So with the actual flan out of the way, we get to the fun part, the actual stuff put on the coin. Most people are used to the heads and tails names, but numismatists like to be fancy, so we call it obverse and reverse. What determines which side is which is a matter of convention. For Romans, typically the side with the emperor's face or whichever deity is considered the obverse. The same for Greeks. For Islamic coins, it is the beginning of the proclamation of the faith. For medieval European coins, typically the side with a cross is the reverse. It will vary from type to type. So by looking at the obverse, right at the center, the main design you will find there is called the device. If we have a portrait of a person or deity, it can be also called a bust or a portrait. All the unoccupied space in the coin is called the field. Typically around the border, you will find the legends. Although legends don't necessarily have to be at the borders. For example, many Greek coins will have their legends placed somewhere, sometimes even interacting with the devices. If a side of a coin doesn't have any legends, we say it is unepigraphic. Some coins also have a small border around the entire design, used for helping to center the design on the flan. These are called the beading, and a coin may or may not have them. Romans and medievals typically show some sort of beating, while on Greeks, it really depends. It's not a rule that it has it. Now, mind you, the person that made the strike very seldom made a perfect job at it, and generally you will have at least a part of the design missing from the coin. Some inaccuracies are easily forgivable and won't detract much of the value of the coin. Once the problem starts getting bad, and we have, for example, a misaligned strike putting some of the legends off the flan, this might lower the value of a coin significantly. In some cases, like for example in the famous Pegasus coins of Corinth, you might have entire chunks of the horse or flan. Imagine being left with a decapitated Pegasus. This will generally reduce the price of that coin, obviously, as most of the appeal of that piece comes from the Pegasus. There's also the matter of how strong was the strike and the level of wear of the dice, which was the piece that carried the design that would be imprinted on the coin with the hammer blow. Sometimes, even a well-centered strike might not have received a sufficiently strong hammer blow, resulting in a weak impression, sometimes entirely through the coin, sometimes in just a certain area. On the other hand, a strong, well-defined strike will always make a coin look particularly good and should actually even command a premium. But it doesn't matter how well-centered or well-struck a coin was. There was always the issue of the die itself just being old and worn. Roman coins, particularly from the 3rd century, have a serious problem with die degradation. They used dies way past what they should have, and as a result, you often find coins which may be in good condition, but the design is simply bad. This might affect just one face, or in the worst cases, both. If a coin looks really nice with all the details, legends, and devices crisp, we say the coins have been struck from fresh dice, while in the other case, we say they were struck with worn dice. So as we switch to the reverse, you might have noticed that the images between each side might have some sort of rotation between them. This is called a die axis, and in a coin attribution, it is typically described using the 12 hours of the clock. If you see, for example, 12 hours, it means that both faces point up in the same direction. 6 hours means they are exactly flipped. Anything else means they are actually at an angle. So when looking and evaluating the reverse, the situation is quite similar to the obverse. We have a central device, we might have legends around that device, or somewhere else, or it might be an epigraphic. We might or might not have a beating, and the fields are the flat area. For the reverse, particularly at the lower part of the device, we have an area called an exergue. This area typically receives some sort of control mark, lettering, or you might have nothing in this area. Generally, it is something related to the quality control of the coin. So when you evaluate the reverse, basically all of the things I've just mentioned on the obverse apply to it. Die wear, a strong or a weak strike, a well-aligned or off-center strike, all of these also have to be taken into consideration. Once we get to the matter of mint marks and denominations on ancient coins, it is a little bit less intuitive compared to modern coins. As for mint marks, there was no clear pattern adopted, not even on the same civilization. The Romans, for example, only truly used mint marks commonly between the 3rd and the 5th centuries, and even then, the standards just every now and then they changed, but you can generally find them either somewhere in the fields or in the exergue. A denomination mark on a coin is also another reasonably recent invention, as historically the diameter, the size, the style, and the metal indicated the denomination. A Roman knew how to distinguish an as from a sestertius from a denarius by looking at it, by seeing its material and its weight. And international trade, for example, did not operate on denominations. They mostly cared about the precious metal content, so denominations simply did not apply. So that pretty much sums it up. As you can see, a coin has a little bit more to be appreciated in it after you give it a first quick glance. This is a basic overview on the things to take into consideration on a coin's anatomy. I haven't detailed more intricate things like luster, analyzing the edge, patina, among others, because these frankly deserve special videos on themselves. But for now, this should give you a basic but adequate overview on what to take into consideration when taking a closer inspection at a coin you want to acquire. So how about you, collectors? Do you have any particular part of your coin you pay close attention to? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you like this little guide, maybe consider subscribing and leaving a like. This greatly helps the channel. I hope you all stay safe, go take a closer look at your coins, and see you all soon.